Advocates were at Queen's Park today to call on the Ford government to make the Accessible Ontario Pledge. This is a 10-step plan of action intended to make the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, or AODA, live up to its full potential.
We are furious. We are determined, and we are ready.
By January 1st, 2025, Ontario was supposed to be fully accessible. The target set 20 years ago when the AODA was unanimously adopted into law. But lawyer David Lepofsky, who is blind, says it failed to meet that deadline.
The AODA is not going away, and frankly, neither are we.
And so we have the Accessible Ontario Pledge. One of the action steps is to develop and enact needed new accessibility standards under the AODA, including an education accessibility standard.
Too often, school boards ignore universal design, leaving children with disabilities unable to access school playgrounds, virtual learning spaces, field trips, and lessons.
In 2024, the province says it passed legislation that harmonizes with the National Building Code in government buildings in Ontario, including all school upgrades, new and retrofitted hospitals and long-term care facilities. But advocates also want a residential housing accessibility standard.
Some people with disabilities are having to crawl around their apartment because they can't get their wheelchair in the door. Parents are struggling to carry teenagers up and down stairs because they can't find an accessible house.
The pledge also calls for speeding up the process for developing these standards and strengthening the relationship between the province and the AODA Alliance. We asked the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility if the province would agree to this pledge and did not hear back in time for this broadcast. However, a spokesperson did tell City News in part, when the AODA was introduced in 2005, it required Ontario to have 5 accessibility standards in place by 2025. Those standards of information and communications, employment, transportation, the design of public spaces, and customer service are in place. The pledge also calls on the government to substantially strengthen enforcement of the AODA. They say the current level is paltry and weak. They want any person or organization who is in violation to be charged. They also want to open up some avenues for people to report violations. At Queen's Park, Michelle Mackey, City News.